If you clicked this video, it's probably because the unofficial Hollow Knight port didn't run on your phone, didn't download for some reason, or maybe you've already beaten the game and want something similar. Either way, I think you're in the right place. Today I'm going to show you 10 mobile games that are similar to Hollow Knight or Silksong, but my main focus is on Hollow Knight itself. I'll be comparing each game, pointing out what makes them similar and where they differ. So let's get started. So starting with number 10 is Dead Cells, one of the best games out there. When we're looking for games similar to Hollow Knight, this one always shows up. They share a few traits, but honestly, they play very differently. Dead Cells is a fast-paced 2D action platformer that blends roguelite and Metroidvania elements, earning the nickname Roguevania. Still, it's more on the roguelite side. You play as this strange, amorphous creature called the Prisoner, who keeps coming back to life after every death by taking over new bodies. The progression here is built around that loop. Every time you die, you start over, losing your temporary gear but keeping long-term upgrades and unlocked weapons. Unlike Hollow Knight, where your progress and abilities stay with you, Dead Cells constantly resets, pushing you to get better with each run. Combat is all about speed and timing, rolling, parrying, chaining attacks. It's super reactive and skill-based. Meanwhile, exploration is more about branching paths and discovering new biomes. Not one massive connected world map like Hollow Knight. Story-wise, it's pretty minimal. Most of the focus is on the gameplay. So the biggest differences between the two are the lack of deep story and lore in Dead Cells, the roguelite progression, its non-connected world map, and the genre itself. Still, there are a few similarities. Both games deliver that Souls-like challenge, both are 2D action platformers, and both have skill-based combat. The difference is that Dead Cells is much faster and more aggressive, while Hollow Knight's combat focuses on precise timing, nail strikes, and spell use. Next up is Dandara, a truly unique 2D action platformer that falls under the Metroidvania genre. The game takes place in the surreal world called Salt, which is on the verge of collapse under the control of the oppressive Golden Idea. You play as Dandara, a heroine who awakens to restore balance and bring hope to this strange, gravity-defying world. The movement system is what makes this game really stand out. Dandara can't walk or run at all. Instead, she leaps or warps between surfaces like walls, floors, and ceilings. You can only stand or land on areas coated with salt, which adds a layer of strategy to how you move around. It's fast, disorienting, and completely different from most Metroidvanias. Like Hollow Knight, it's a true Metroidvania with a massive interconnected world that slowly opens up as you gain new abilities. Combat, however, is very different. Dandara fights using a ranged energy shot that you have to charge while standing still, so timing and positioning are key. The game also has a Souls-like system. Defeating enemies gives you salt, which you can spend to level up at camps. If you die, you drop your salt and have to return to reclaim it, just like recovering your Geo in Hollow Knight. Now, talking about the similarities and differences. Both are 2D Metroidvanias with a Souls-like system, non-linear exploration, and progression tied to new abilities. The main differences are in the combat and movement. Dandara focuses on ranged attacks instead of melee, and her movement is entirely based on dashing. No walking, no jumping, just quick leaps between surfaces. It also lacks strong storytelling and deep lore. Most things remain unanswered even after you finish the game. Dandara focuses more on its unique mechanics and gameplay innovation rather than building a rich narrative like Hollow Knight. Overall, Dandara Trials of Fear Edition is a creative and beautifully designed game. It might not capture Hollow Knight's same depth or flow, but it's definitely worth checking out if you love challenging Metroidvanias. Eldoran is a 2D action platformer that's basically a dark Metroidvania with heavy RPG elements and a Lovecraft-inspired world. You'll play as a mercenary sent to cleanse a cursed land filled with horrifying creatures and massive bosses. The mobile version is a premium game on Android and iOS, offering the full experience. It even comes with improved touch controls like movable action buttons and larger text, but still, many players recommend using a controller for that smoother feel. Now here are the similarities and differences between Eldoran and Hollow Knight. Both games are 2D Metroidvania titles built around exploration and unlocking new paths with abilities like dash or double jump.
They both require skill, patience, and timing, especially when learning enemy and boss attack patterns. Now, the biggest difference comes down to progression. Eldorant follows a more traditional RPG setup. You level up, boost stats, and collect different weapons and gear. On the other hand, Hollow Knight uses charms and nail upgrades instead of RPG stats, keeping it simpler but more focused on player skill. Aesthetics-wise, Eldorant goes for vibrant pixel art inspired by classic Castlevania, while Hollow Knight stands out with its hand-drawn art and a much darker and emotional tone. When it comes to movement, Hollow Knight feels way smoother and tighter, while Eldorant's movement is a bit heavier. Both movements are good, the feel is different. Storytelling also differs. Hollow Knight is cryptic and environmental, while Eldorant mixes clear NPC/quest text with environmental clues. In Eldorant, you just respawn at a save point. In HK, you lose your Geo and have to beat your shade to get it back, so deaths feel way more punishing. Up next is Runic Curse, a 2D action platformer RPG that mixes Metroidvania and Souls-like elements. You play as Adrian, a traveler stranded on a cursed island, exploring its dark world to uncover what happened to your crew and break the Runic Curse. The game features a large, interconnected map where unlocking new abilities lets you backtrack to hidden areas, classic Metroidvania style. Combat is tactical and stamina-based, with dodge rolls and tough bosses, but it's slower and less fluid than Hollow Knight's precise, responsive system. Both games share that 2D Metroidvania core and skill-based combat, but Runic Curse adds RPG-style leveling and gear progression that Hollow Knight skips. However, its movement feels heavier, and the stamina bar limits flow compared to Hollow Knight's freedom and momentum. Story-wise, it's pretty simple, no deep lore or mysterious world-building like Hollow Nest. Overall, Runic Curse is a decent indie Metroidvania with Souls-like vibes, but it doesn't quite reach Hollow Knight's polish, movement, or atmosphere. Moving on, we have 9 Years of Shadows, a dark fantasy Metroidvania developed by Halberd Studios. In this game, you play as Europa, a warrior exploring the mechanical castle of Talos, a world drained of all color. Your mission is to restore life and beauty to a land consumed by shadow. Europa is joined by Apino, a floating teddy bear companion who serves as both your ranged weapon and shield. The shield can only recharge once it's fully depleted, which adds a strategic twist to combat. Now, when it comes to similarities and differences, HK and 9 Years are similar in concept. Both are Metroidvanias, but different in their specific mechanics and feel. Both share the same foundation: 2D exploration, non-linear progression, and tough boss battles that demand precision and timing. But the movement is where things change. Hollow Knight focuses on tight, momentum-based platforming with fast-paced dashes and wall jumps, while 9 Years doesn't have a forward dash at all. Instead, it relies on armor-based abilities for traversal, like swimming or gliding, but it has a backward dash though. Progression is similar in concept, but also differs in execution. Hollow Knight unlocks new powers through charms and abilities, while 9 Years revolves around elemental armors that grant combat upgrades and movement abilities tied to elements like fire, water, and lightning. As for storytelling, Hollow Knight builds mystery through atmosphere and lore fragments, while 9 Years tells a clearer, more direct story about bringing color back to the world. Next up, we have Afterimage, a stunning hand-drawn 2D Metroidvania made by Aragon Shanghai. You play as Renee, an amnesiac exploring the massive, ruined world of Engarden to uncover her memories and the fate of the gods. Just like Hollow Knight, it's built around exploration, backtracking, and ability-based progression. The world is huge and interconnected, filled with secrets and tough enemies waiting to be discovered. Movement also feels familiar, with double jumps, dashes, and wall jumps, though Afterimage has a faster pace and flashier animations. Combat in both games rewards timing and skill, but Afterimage gives you more variety, letting you experiment with different weapon types and elemental abilities. On the other hand, Hollow Knight keeps it simpler, but more precise, focusing on movement and charm setups. As for storytelling, Afterimage is more direct, using dialogue and cutscenes to tell its story, but the writing can be vague and a bit confusing at times. Similarities: both are 2D Metroidvania action platformers with interconnected worlds, ability-based progression, and Souls-like elements like currency loss on death. Differences: Afterimage has faster, combo-heavy combat with multiple weapon types, while Hollow Knight focuses on precise, timing-based melee fights. The tone also differs. Afterimage is bright and fantasy-themed, while Hollow Knight is darker and more atmospheric. Story-wise, Afterimage is more direct, but poorly written and confusing. Still, it's a fantastic Metroidvania to try on mobile. Next up, we have Castlevania Symphony of the Night, the legendary game that basically helped define the Metroidvania genre. The mobile version is a direct port of the original classic, where you play as Alucard, Dracula's half-vampire son, exploring his father's massive castle to uncover its dark secrets. Both Symphony of the Night and Hollow Knight share the same core: 2D Metroidvania exploration, ability-based progression, and tons of secrets to uncover. But the feel is very different. SOTN has slower, more RPG-driven gameplay with stat leveling, gear, and spells, while Hollow Knight is all about skill, timing, and charm builds. Their worlds also carry different vibes. Hallownest is dark and mysterious, while Dracula's castle feels gothic and supernatural. Story-wise, SOTN tells its tale through dialogue and cutscenes, more direct and traditional compared to Hollow Knight's cryptic world-building. The game does have some minor bugs and control issues on mobile, which is why it got a lower rating on the Play Store. It does support controllers though, and that's the best way to play it. Up next at number 3 is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, a stylish 2.5D action-adventure that brings the classic series back with a modern Metroidvania twist and some really cool time-based mechanics. You play as Sargon, the youngest member of the Immortals, exploring the massive interconnected world of Mount Koth, packed with shortcuts, secrets, and puzzles. Just like Hollow Knight, progression is ability gated. You'll often hit block paths that only open up once you unlock new powers or traversal skills, which keeps exploration super rewarding. The game even has a neat memory shard system that lets you screenshot places you can't reach yet and pin them on your map. A small but genius feature. Both games focus on precision platforming, wall jumps, and dashes, though The Lost Crown feels faster and flashier. Combat-wise, it's all about timing, combos, and parries, more like Sekiro or Devil May Cry, while Hollow Knight sticks to tight, simple, skill-based hits. Storytelling is also quite different. Prince of Persia goes for a cinematic, voice-acted narrative with clear characters and objectives, while Hollow Knight leaves most of its lore for you to uncover. Both are fantastic in their own way. One mysterious and emotional, the other fast, stylish, and full of time-bending action. Blasphemous is a critically acclaimed 2D action platformer that blends Metroidvania exploration with Souls-like difficulty. The game takes place in Custodia, a dark, gothic world inspired by Spanish Catholic imagery, all cursed by something called the Miracle. You play as the Penitent One, the last survivor of a fallen brotherhood, wielding a sacred blade to end the cycle of suffering. Combat is brutal and precise. Parries, executions, and deadly boss fights demand skill and patience. You can also customize your build using relics, prayers, and upgrades to suit your playstyle. Like Hollow Knight, Blasphemous is all about exploring interconnected areas, unlocking new abilities, and revisiting older zones once you've gained new powers. But while Hollow Knight's movement feels light and fluid, Blasphemous is heavier. Every jump, swing, and dodge carries weight, giving it a slower, more deliberate rhythm. Combat is just as punishing as you'd expect. You rely on parries, precise timing, and executions to survive. Both games demand skill and patience, but Blasphemous leans into the brutality of each encounter, while Hollow Knight focuses more on agility and flow. Both worlds tell their stories indirectly, through cryptic dialogue and environmental clues, but the tone is very different. Hollow Knight feels mysterious and melancholy. Blasphemous feels grim, religious, and unsettling. Blasphemous is one of the best games to release on mobile. And finally, at number 1, we've got Hawk Mobile. This one's an action platformer and a full-on Metroidvania set in a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk wasteland. You play as Hawk, a traveler who leaves his small town and ventures south to find his lost brother. Your journey takes you through San Ho, one of the few places untouched by the disaster. The world is full of secrets, strange survivors, and mysteries waiting to be uncovered. What makes it even better is that your choices actually matter. The game features multiple endings depending on how you play and what paths you take. Movement is a big part of the experience. Hawk gives you a multifunctional energy hook for swinging, grappling, and attacking. It even adds a slow motion effect that makes combat and movement feel dynamic and stylish. Both games share that classic Metroidvania structure: explore, unlock abilities, and backtrack, but Hawk has a sci-fi twist filled with neon lights and broken machines instead of the dark and decaying world of Hollow Knight. It's less punishing than Hollow Knight, but still challenging, with tough bosses and checkpoints that keep things tense. Overall, Hawk delivers that same deep Metroidvania feel with a cyberpunk vibe, a must-try if you loved Hollow Knight. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. It really helps a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.